Welcome to the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. Whether inside or outside the loop, we are talking everything soccer in Houston. Y'all ready? Let's get it. Houston, welcome to another episode of the Bayou City Soccer Podcast. My name is Rudy Segura. Thank you for joining us for one more episode, and I am joined by Cristian Putalia's brother. How you doing so far, bro?
How's it going, everybody? You good, man? How are you? How's the whole tribe doing? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. And of course, you know that I got a new job not that long ago, and I'm still getting adjusted to it, man. I keep telling my wife the 5:30 alarm clock comes quick, man. It comes
It's
quick.
rough.
It come and gets you. It's kind of nice though that I get off like early. That will say that, but now I have to go pick up kids. So it's like literally I get off at 3, run to get kids, stay in line for like an hour, and then basically go home after that. So really, I'm not free till 4-ish. So it kind of sucks. But no, it's been great, man. I think it's really nice to have this new job at the right time. Just because the kids are in school now, and you know we're their chauffeurs, man, till basically
Right?
they're able to drive themselves. So that's kind
Yeah,
of like the way it goes now. And but it's kind of nice. It's a different season in life for sure, man.
for
And you have
sure.
4 of them, so you
Oh yeah,
know, yeah, they keep us busy, man. They keep us busy.
100%. But I mean, yeah, like you said, a different stage in life. It's cool that I don't know if cool is the right word, but you're also transitioning as they're transitioning. They're getting older, getting into like school more. They kind of understand the whole process of what school is. They're not, little babies anymore.
Right.
Right. And it's just kind of cool, right? You kind of grow because, people always talk about parenting, but it's like, we don't know. We're just trying to keep them alive the best we
Right.
can. And then
Right.
you just kind of learn with the flow of life. So, but it's fun, it's fun.
No, it's definitely fun. I would definitely agree with that. I think for me, parenting is has not been difficult. I don't know if that makes sense so far.
Yeah.
Because there's people that are like hate it. I know that. Like
Yeah.
there's people that just hate it. They hate every aspect of it. I myself I love it. I mean, they drain my energy, yes. Do they drive me nuts sometimes? Yes. But overall is way better than I ever expected. So it's kind of nice. But yeah, you're right. And it's one of those that we ourselves don't realize, like when our parents were,
Yeah, dude.
teaching us, because they're in, like, you look now and you're like, in your 30s, and you're like, that's when your parents started. And then you think about like the way you're approaching life right now at this stage of 30 something, and you're like, damn, my parents probably, they didn't get it either. They were also learning. And
Yeah,
so now you feel it's different and different. Obviously, as a kid, you never understood that. You never got
exactly.
that they were growing with you, and it's very rewarding to see it that way too.
And then to kind of add to it, like our situation, the way that we lived it, and a lot of people in Houston, the whole being an immigrant part of it,
Yeah,
it's such an extra like curveball to life. Going to a whole different country, different culture, different language.
yeah.
So it's like, damn, like having to learn all that, getting acclimated to kind of what a new world
Mhm.
basically. And then you add the fact that you still have children you have to take care of.
Right.
Shout out to our parents.
No, yeah, you're
A lot
absolutely
of
right. I think about it, and I'm gonna be 35. Hopefully God gets me there. 35 this year. And I think about, like, right now that I know we're completely going a different tangent than
all right.
soccer, but it's this life, man. We do life together, brother.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I see it as like my parents decided to move to the US at the age of 40. So they're pretty, old. 40, you already have your life made, like
Sure.
you
Yeah.
already have everything. And it was like they saw it as an opportunity to, like, give us a better life. And I feel like we didn't have a bad life. Like my mom had a good job, we had like a good house and stuff like that, but they were smart enough to say, but it can be better, type of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, like it's crazy. Like I think about it, I'm like, 5 years from now, if I was like, let's just go ahead and go to
China.
Spain.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And start, yeah, I guess China, because it'd be a completely different
Yeah.
language. So man, yeah, no, it's really crazy just to think about it that way. And yeah, and you're right. And then us, driving them nuts when they were doing that transition themselves. How are we still alive? How they didn't like get rid of us some way, some form,
Right.
it's crazy, man. But no, it's interesting. It's an interesting part of life, for whoever's able to kind of be a part of it. And if not, you probably get there. There's
Yeah,
still option.
for
There's
sure.
a lot of different ways that you can become a parent. There's
Yeah.
sponsorships. So, in case you aren't able to have kids, I would say that too. So, no, but it's very rewarding just being able to kind of like see other, well, in this case, are human beings that we made, right? We made people.
Yeah, that's wild.
Like, have you made people yet? Have you made people? Nah, it's incredible, man. And you get to the point that like you try to do everything for them, like always thinking of them. Like, uh,
Yeah,
yeah, I don't think there's anything now in life that I do without thinking of them more than me, type of thing. So it's just
100%.
crazy. And which is funny. I will finish up with this, but the other day, my kid said something about like, "How's your birthday coming up?" Which it's still there's still time, and I don't even know how he said this, but I think clearly because he knows that everyone's birthdays already happened. You know what I mean? Like everybody,
Yeah.
his birthday passed, my daughter's birthday passed, my wife's birthday passed, so he knows I'm the only one left. And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy you." What did he say? He said something like, "I'm gonna buy you a soccer ball." I'm like, "Huh." Like, and then my daughter said something else, and I was like, "Huh?" They actually know me. They're 4 and 5, and they actually know what like the gifts that they said they would give me. Like, I was like, "Okay, they actually know who I am," you know?
It's stuff that you would like, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, and you're right, Rushan, parenting is not cheap, man. It is not cheap
Oh
at
no.
all. Definitely not cheap.
No, sir.
Um, but all right, man. I guess anything else exciting that happened in this weekend, or this week that we haven't talked, Christian? By the
Well,
way,
yeah,
Rushan, we
yeah.
missed you, man. You've been
For
I don't
real.
know if you've
Yeah.
been out and about, man, but we really
Traveling,
missed your
maybe.
interaction here. Also, Jeff Strong, shout out to Jeff Strong, one of our best members, as well. I haven't seen him. I didn't see him last week, but anyways, sorry, Chris, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good, you good. No, so I think I already told you guys, but my grandparents are visiting from Argentina,
Nice.
and my grandma had her birthday here a couple, like maybe about a month ago, and then my grandpa. So it's my grandpa's birthday, and then the next day is one of my uncle's birthday, and then like the next day is another uncle. So like they're all like back to back, and so they decided to kind of accumulate all three birthdays and just have them on one day, which was Saturday. So they did a whole lechon, they like a whole pig. They basically just kind of put it over the fire for like 6-7 hours. Typical Argentinian asado, and all the fixings and everything like that. But it was a big gathering. Honestly, I was talking to one of my buddies from work, and we were kind of reminiscing, because I was like, I remember back in the day, like you would go to these like birthday parties or like family gatherings, and all the guys are outside in the backyard, like drinking or like playing cards or just bullshitting basically, and then all the ladies are inside in the living room or like in the kitchen area, just like getting food ready or like talking to each other, gossiping and stuff like that. And you as a little kid, you're always like running around. But now, like, it was my time, kind of going back to parenting, to wrangle my kids around. Like, my kids were the ones running around the grill,
I know,
or like
right? Like
running around the open fire.
you wonder when you're gonna be the out of the kids table, right? When you're gonna
Right,
make it out of the
exactly.
kids table.
So now, like, I made it with the adults. I'm over there sharing beers and
Ah,
passing the
man,
drinks
you made me.
around.
It's like that's whenever something happens. Like, where's the adult? Hey, we need an
For
adult,
real.
and you look
Yeah.
around and you're the adult.
And
Like
you're like,
you're
oh
the only
damn.
one.
Like when it usually happens, a kid falls and it starts crying, and you're like, okay, well, their parent is gonna come out at any minute, to come check on them, and you're like, wait, oh shit, that's my kid, like,
Right.
and you have to run out there and get them. But no, it was fun times. Same thing. We haven't shared a birthday with my grandparents for a while, so just kind of having them around, and being with them and kind of showering them with like a little bit of love and affection was was different, because I didn't grow up with them in a way, because they were over there, I was over here. But it was kind of cool to kind of be able to share those memories that we kind of made in Argentina, and now we're kind of remaking, obviously, in a different way, a little bit older, but still family, so it's still cool. So
I feel you.
yeah.
It goes back to being an immigrant, man. Like all your
Mhm.
family is not around, so that's why for me it was so easy just to make friends with everybody,
Yeah,
everybody and their mama, man. So if you talk to me,
for
it
real.
doesn't matter who you are. I'm here to be friends. Which is funny though, because like whenever I'm out and about and I used to fly, I hated talking to people. But that's because now why I think about it, because I really don't like planes. So you know how people like try to like talk to you whenever you're on a trip or whatever.
Yeah.
And, I mean, remember the bus when we took that bus to Frisco?
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Why are you guys so quiet?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, I'm taking a break from my family here, basically. Like there's no kids I have to worry about. I can take a nap. That's one. And then two, it's like we're driving, man. I don't want to. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk.
For real.
But that's just me. But Christian, tell the people how they can connect with us, bro.
Yes, 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 yes. You can always go to BayouCitySoccer.net. Honestly, we are working behind the scenes. We're getting some stuff together, so stay tuned for that. We have a lot of content, being planned. Hopefully for the second, kind of the last final stretch of the season, and kind of getting ready already for 2025. With Bayou City Soccer implementing new things and bringing new people on board. You'll start seeing that hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, you can find everything at BayouCitySoccer.net. You can always check out the social medias, go to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and click the bell there, so you also are in the loop whenever we do go live. You get a little notification, so you can join us on the chat. uh Go to the Instagram page. You can hit us up over there. We're going to have weekly polls, so hopefully every time we do a podcast, the day after we'll have a poll of something that we talked about here in the podcast, so you guys can join the conversation as well. Check out the Twitter. That's when we do live game the matches. We tweet everything that's going on there, a lot of information. Dustin does a great job in literally tweeting something out as soon as we know, or sometimes people don't know and we know, and
Mhm.
he's out there putting it out. So stay tuned with us, and yeah, just check out BayouCitySoccer.net, and also check out UglyGuppy.com, our sponsor for the show. Great people, and also we'll be hopefully showcasing them here soon in the website. And just check everybody out, man. We're doing great work here.
Yeah, and there should be a newsletter coming out soon. Something that Dustin had been talking about for like about a year or so. And I think he finally kind of put into fruition what he was thinking. It takes some time for sure, man. But Rusha, no, you're right, dude. If you're gonna be on a train for 1 to 4 days, you're gonna talk to
Oof.
people. Now,
Yeah.
if you're in an airplane for 4 hours, dude, what I do is I love catching on movies that I haven't seen. Especially, I tend to fly Southwest because I'm just here locally a lot, from when I used to travel a lot for work. And I would just catch whatever movie I haven't seen, and it was fantastic, man. So that's
There
the
you go.
way to do it. So but we'll be getting on a plane soon enough, Chris. So
Yes.
we'll catch
Yes.
something there. So um we'll touch a little bit more on that coming up, but let's go ahead and get started with Dynamo 2. Dynamo 2 have about a week off. They don't play this
Yeah.
weekend. They don't come back till the
Sunday.
yeah Sunday, September 8th.
6.
Bro, it's
Oh
already
yeah. Eight,
September. Can
six.
you believe it?
Bro,
That's
it's wild.
ridiculous. Wake me up when September ends on this rate. Let it start and let it end. But yeah, they'll be playing against Ventura County FC, which if you guys don't know, that's LA Galaxy's academy team. They'll be playing here at Sabercat Stadium, correct? Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Again in about 10 days. 10 days? 2
Yeah.
weeks.
Give or take.
Yeah, 10 days. 10 days.
Somewhere around there.
I'm trying to add the math. I'm like 3 plus 5 divided by 2 by 5. Okay.
Carry the
Um,
3. Yeah.
yeah. Square root of 99. So man, obviously, they've been kind of not necessarily consistent. They did get a massive win, or technically 2 wins against
Yeah.
Minnesota, which was good for them as they try to continue to push for that playoffs. 3-1.
Mhm.
I believe a brace from Siegel, and who scored the third goal, or who scored the third
So it was dang, that's a good question. The first game was 4-1, 3 from Silla, 1 from Siegel, and then it was a brace from Seagull, and then dang, you literally threw
Oh,
me
it was
off
an
there.
own goal. My bad. I
It
knew
was an
that.
own goal. Yeah, I
Yes.
remember. I knew that. I knew
Yeah.
that.
So I mean, they've done
Cabezazo.
they've done that very well. I mean,
Yeah,
Siegel is killing it. And we talked about this a lot in our
Seagull nephew.
spaces. Let me put a picture of Siegel here. Yeah, there you go. Dude looks like a beast right there. You know, destroying academy players and goalies, and it's
Yeah,
great. It's great for his confidence. He needs to score goals as a goal scorer. If you really think back in his case, right, and you compare him to Thor, if you guys remember Thor,
yeah,
who knows where he's at? He had the same opportunities with Dynamo 2, and he barely scored. And Siegel's scoring. You know, he's a striker, and I think he's obviously still young,
yeah.
still kind of like working on his craft. We know that he hadn't gotten a ton of minutes before he arrived to Dynamo, you know, from New York City FC, and then he comes here. He scores in his very first game. Then he scored that crazy cool goal and that beatdown in DC, you know, in front of his family, in front of his hometown crowd. And now with Dynamo 2, that we've seen him more often, now that Ponce has arrived in the first team and has taken basically, you know, that spot from him, pushing Ferreira to the bench. It's just incredible the work that he's put in. And obviously you mentioned Silla as well, having that hat trick. And I he did win. What did he win here? I have it here as well. He got the the
Player of the
yeah,
week
player of the match week. So I mean, I don't know how he didn't win it. Was this for this week? Oh, that was, yeah, that was
for
the 4
the
1. The
midweek
4
game.
1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I mean, both of these guys are playing very, very well, right? Think Dustin asked, um,
yeah.
right? I think he asked
Ben Olsen.
Ben about Scylla and his performance, and like the performance that a lot of these guys in Dynamo 2 are having. Obviously, getting a lot of players of the week, players of the month, like Diego Gonzalez did. Um, the talent, or at least the work that, you know, the Dynamo 2 have done, it's pretty incredible. And the question begs, I guess, you know, to be asked is, you know, are these guys ever going to get playing time with the first team? And in reality, it's going to be very difficult. But man, let's talk a little bit about that, Christian. What are your thoughts on that possibility? And, you know, should they be given an opportunity?
I mean, yeah, it's a great conversation starter. It's a great question to be asked. I mean, obviously, it's not that we threw it on Ben Olsen's ear, because I mean he's there day in day out, you know, playing with
Hey,
them,
Brenda,
practicing with them.
you see my
But
tan? I just realized I don't have my
your
watch.
your watch stand, I have it too.
So,
It's
bro,
not
this
as
is
bad,
awful.
but
This is awful. Yeah, no. And then, you know, well,
but
anyway, sorry.
we'll continue. Uh, no, but just obviously bringing that conversation up to him, obviously just giving him the idea that we all have, because that's what we were talking about earlier today. You know, you have Siegel that has been scoring goals in different ways. You know, headers, you know, chips, long range goals, you know, shots from outside the box, free kicks. He has been like extraordinary in free kicks. So good that now when he's on the field and Diego Gonzalez on the field, he's taking all the free kicks.
Hmm.
So just to kind of tell you that much, Diego Gonzalez, who was like the main guy taking free kicks, now has to kind of give the ball to Siegel to, and I mean he hit the crossbar in this past games and everything like that. So he's very dangerous even in those kicks. But yeah, you know, what does the competition look like, right? So Ben Olsen said, you know, when you have first team guys going to the Dynamo 2, you want to see them stand out. You want to see them make a difference. And that's literally what Siegel is doing, right? So he's dominating center backs. He's scoring goals. Palomino kind of freaking, no,
Hmm.
better. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
Palomino had like one or two.
I was a big
So,
fan of Palomino.
but me, más
I
o
was a
menos.
big fan. I thought the potential was there. And well,
I guess
we
not.
know where he's at.
Yeah. Second
Sorry.
division of Sweden, I think it is. But bueno.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's that, right? But you know, Siegel, like we said, you know, scoring goals, you know, brings up the conversation. Could he be the backup striker? You know, if A
Mhm.
lot of people are talking about Ferreira. Is he worth keeping? Is he worth? Obviously, I think we have him for a whole nother year,
Mm.
a whole nother season. But after that, do you keep Siegel, a 21-year-old kid that has a long future in front of him, or when the time comes, do you sell him? Does he go to another team that is going to give him more times or more opportunities, or does he have a place in the Houston Dynamo, behind Ponce, because obviously Ponce will be the starter. So that's a conversation there. Then you start talking about Silla, and you love our boy, what's his name, Bassi.
Mhm.
He kind of plays the same position. Silla, funny enough, in the beginning of the season, he wasn't being
He wasn't
as
that good.
he wasn't that good, but you know why? Because he was playing more on the sides, more on the wing, kind of like Gogo Carrasquilla, like
Mhm.
more thrown into the corner where he would get lost. And I feel when Kenny Bundy put him more as a 10, more like a central position, that's when he was able to kind of get more out of his shell. Kind of, I feel the same way about Coco. I feel like when Coco gets a little bit more central, that's when he gets more dangerous than being pushed to a side, and that's when you see him link up with other players, with Diego, link up with whoever's playing striker. And then to bring up another player, you have Sargent on the left that does
Mhm.
the same job that basically Dorsey is doing on the right side. He does it on the left side. So if you wanted a wing back like that, a fullback, can somebody like Sargent at also 21, I think 22 years old, can he go up like that? Can you bring him in as a backup for Escobar? We have a couple of players and the Dynamo that sometimes go in the last 10, 15 minutes to kind of give you a boost.
Right.
Being Tate Schmidt, being what's the other guy, the
Brad
Liverpool
Smith.
guy, Brad Smith. Those guys that kind of go all the way down to the box and can bring you a cross in, and can Sargent be included in that conversation? Can
Mhm.
can he be one of those guys that breaks in? Maybe U.S. Open games and stuff like that. Another guy for the future, a projection, De Morelli, 15 years old kid, 15-year-old, started on the bench, slowly but surely gained his position as a starter, amongst these players. And now he basically starts every game and he puts in a good shift, sometimes 60 minutes, sometimes 90. But that he's going to give you a good shift on the right side of the field and same thing, goes to the line, has a lot of one-on-ones,
Mhm.
pushes forward. So a lot of conversations that could be brought up. Obviously, some more than others. Just because of where they are in age. Um, but yeah, I mean, it makes it tough for Ben Olsen. What is he going to do? But the good thing, I guess, is that we do have the U.S. Open competition. But honestly, that's going to be way far in the future. Here in 6 months. 6 months is a long time in soccer. You never know what's going to happen.
For sure.
But it also gives you an opportunity if to sell. If you wanted to be a selling club, why not sell them for a profit type thing. Develop a player, sell a player type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
But if
I
you can
think
do that, why not keep them?
yeah, and it's very difficult, I mean, the talent, it's great to see them actually, flourishing. Silla took some bit to get used to the league, I would say, and obviously, you mentioned playing maybe out of position, then Siegel coming in here, as of late, and getting minutes. They're both 23, and we've talked about
Yeah,
this before, right? At 23 years old, any other league, you've already probably have like 100 caps to your belt, right? In
yeah,
the first team. And I think that the process in the US is very different. I think that these guys can still go into, a first team MLS team and still be good. Same thing if they went abroad. I mean, I think they could still be good. Obviously like and maybe smaller teams, smaller leagues. I could see that happening. Now, the difficult part here, and I guess we should knock on wood and kind of maybe be grateful for that, and obviously Ben Olsen probably would be. It's everybody's been very healthy, this year. Apart from Ferreira, obviously having that injury, um, everybody in the team has been very helpful. Helpful. They have been very healthy, and it's helpful for him to make the decision pretty easy of who starts, who's on the bench.
yeah,
Now that's usually what helps you if you're a younger team, or a younger player in the second team of getting an opportunity. And it just hasn't happened. And you mentioned obviously U.S. Open Cup, they get knocked out in the first round. If you would have seen more games out of that tournament, that
Yeah.
you probably would have played them. If you would have made it, I would say U.S. Open Cup for sure. Leagues Cup's a little different because there is a giant break, and again, there's no injuries, so you're gonna play the best guys you have. And
Yeah.
then Champions Cup, that's a whole different level because you do want to play your best team, like no matter what, healthy or not. It's a big tournament. It's a tournament you want to win, so you're gonna do whatever you can to win it. But yeah, it just you're right. I think overall it just puts a really interesting spin of what Ben Olsen, the coaching staff, have to look at. And it's great. I think it's good. It's good that we're seeing that. Any final thoughts on Dynamo 2 before we move into the dash?
No, yeah, they have 5 games left, 3 at home, 2 away. They're all obviously against rivals in the Western Conference, so they're all must wins when it comes to playing those games. So it's going to be a difficult task. They are in the last place of the playoff right now, so
Mhm.
it's one of those things that if they can stay consistent, if they can play good, if they can play as a team, they can win, they can push. They can keep leads. I mean, Minnesota is probably one of the worst teams playing right now.
For
So those
sure.
2 wins are great, but also it's like don't get too comfortable
Take it
because
with a grain of salt, for sure.
exactly the teams that you're playing against are in front of you, or some of them are in front of you, so they're going to be difficult. And obviously, they're fighting for position because in MLS Next Pro, if you're the top 4, you actually get to pick who you want to play.
Right.
So everybody wants that little bit of advantage in any way, shape, or form. So if you're trying to compete, you got to beat the big boys, and to do that, then you have to play the big boys. So we'll see what happens in the next few games. But yeah, 5 games left, final stretch of the season for them, and wish them all the best.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be fun. Keep an eye out. Again, they have a week break, and then they go back at it. I know you mentioned this before, Ugly Guppy. I just give them a shout out here before I forget. They gave us new gear, new polos,
Hey,
new hats for us for our crew that will be wearing proudly to the stadium or the games and anything that events that we do for either Houston or Dash for Houston Dynamo or Dash.
yeah.
Man, lately I've been like, I don't know if you noticed, every time I stop like on the wrong part. But yeah, so we'll be wearing that. And so grateful for that work. But yeah, definitely hit up Ugly Guppy. They've been super busy. They did get affected a little bit by the hurricane. They fell behind in some of their projects. But as of now, they are basically up to speed. So they're ready for any, big orders that you may have. They were really stuck talking to Carlos. They were working on giant orders of like 500 shirts, per
Dang,
order. And so, I mean, they've been working. And I told them, I'm like, it's great. I mean,
yeah,
you guys are busy. That's a good thing. So,
that's a great sign.
make sure, then they're great at what they do. I mean, everything that we get is high quality. So
100%.
definitely, if you need any kind of shirts for, whatever, whether it be a school, your
For real.
t-ball team, your soccer team, whatever you may need, hit Ugly Guppy. They do a fantastic job, and Carlos is a great guy. So, just FYI, hit them up. Houston Dash. Uh, the, I told Dustin, I tell you, Christian, that I need to make it to more Dash games. I've been trying to watch them more. I will say that, and I can't say that I enjoy watching the Dash. I don't, in the sense of like the way they play and stuff like that. But I try, man. I do my best. I know that the NWSL, we've talked about this before, it's the best league in the world.
It's
And
wild.
a lot of the teams that we'd see are very good. I will be honest, half of the time that I'm watching the Dash, I'm enjoying the other team playing. They have some fantastic players that they've gone against. And this game in particular, I traded Manny. Manny usually does a Dash for us. And I was like, hey, I'll go to the Dash if you want to go to Dynamo. And it worked out because he was actually busy on Friday. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. So it worked out, right? So it was great. They were playing against the undefeated and still undefeated Orlando Pride. They have a lot of very good players. They have a lot of Brazilians. Obviously, they have Marta, who, is the legend in the women soccer um, world, I suppose. And I think she started and she played a lot of minutes. I couldn't even tell you when she came out. When she came out, but you can tell that this is, she's running out of legs, if that makes sense. But she still played very well. The team, the Dash themselves, personally, I thought they were gonna get smoked by Orlando. I think a lot of us were like, yeah, I don't see them beating Orlando. And if they don't beat them, it's going to get out of hand quickly. But hey, they were able to hold them to a 1-goal win. So uh, that's all you need. You mean it's a win? It's a win. You still lost, but I think you take it with a positive. I do hate when people say that. It's like, oh, take it with a positive. It's like you lost. It's still a loss. But whenever you see the matchup, whenever you see the way that they played, the opportunities they had, Andres, I think, hit the post. Michelle Lozzi had one right in front of goal that she decided to hit it directly into the goalkeeper. There's a good opportunity that the Dash had and could have finished and could have probably either drew the game, possibly even won the game. But that's neither here or there. We obviously know all the issues that they had with Fran Alonso being out. Obviously, Cece Kaiser looked like she may be getting traded. They have no general manager. They're not really looking at picking any more players. This, transfer window, like what they have is it. So it's really crazy things kind of happening throughout. I would say the game itself was a fun game to watch. KP on the as the assistant coach said, I kept you at all, kept you like at the edge of your seat at times. And it truly did. You could feel it in the atmosphere. I mean, the fans were in it, the people that were there. Um, so overall, you take it from, we talked about, they played two teams from Mexico. They beat both of those two teams. How was this going to translate? And maybe it did give them a little bit of a boost because they didn't look bad, for what it is. So um, overall, you take it again. Yeah, they'd be playing. Let me see who they'll be playing. I should put this picture up here, but they are going to be playing against Utah Royals on Saturday,
Utah.
uh, 8:30 p.m. They'll be playing at home, and I
Bro,
think bring your dog. Yeah, here at Shell.
everybody plays on Saturday, huh?
Everybody
Well,
plays on Saturday.
like
Yeah,
Dash and Dino.
yeah, they play. Yeah, they do. They do. So I mean, I don't know if you want to make it to this game here, Dustin, but 8:30. It's a late game, but
It's a late ass
it's
game.
it's a late game. But yeah, so Utah Royals, I believe they're still in last. I didn't even let me see. I have the
La
table here.
Utah.
I think they're last. I know they. Yep, they're still. So you have Houston Dash 13 with 14 points, and then Utah Royals with 12 points. That's incredible. Because first
Jeez.
place Orlando Pride has 41.
The battle of the worst.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The battle of the words. I mean, if they win, they get moved all the way till like the 11th place, which is pretty crazy. It doesn't take a lot to go up and
Yeah.
down this, and there's an opportunity for them to make it into the playoffs
Playoffs.
still. So they're not out of it yet. I mean, again, we spoke about this. Now there's 27 points that they're still available. That's more than enough if they can get a good chunk of them. They can sneak into the playoffs, man. I mean, do you want them to make it into the playoffs? In all honesty, as you like as a fan, yes, obviously you would want them to make it into the playoffs, but at the end of the day, they'll probably get this annihilated, in the first round. So and it can create a false sense of hope. You feel like, oh no, we got it right. We did it
We
without a
made
coach,
the
without a general
playoffs.
manager, without a really good players. We made the playoffs, man. That's what you guys been asking. Yeah, it's a little tough. The news this today though that broke was that Paige Nielsen did get a contract extension. She's going till 2028, I believe. I had it open,
Man,
but
look at her thigh.
yeah, she's strong, man. I
Jeez.
like her. You know what? She's like the Team Parker of the Dash. Like now that you say that, with like how muscular she looks, but she's nicer than Tim Parker. She's not annoying like Tim Parker. Tim
F
Parker,
that guy,
who?
bro.
I know.
Yeah.
Um, guy got traded in his sleep, man. He didn't even. He was all in when
Oh,
St.
bitch.
Louis. He celebrated like when he scored against the Dynamo. He celebrated like he never played for the Dynamo, and St. Louis is like trading him in his sleep. That's what happened, man. It's called karma. It's called karma.
Asshole.
but but yeah, no, it's so it's great news there. I will say. I mean, I think by the end of the contract she'll be 31. To me, a 31-year-old is not that old to get like this long
No.
extension, so it's perfect, man. I think she's been very good. She obviously had I think an injury that she suffered not that long ago that kept her out like a 1 or 2 games. But other than that, she's very good, very talented player. It looks like she fit in right away into the team, into the scheme. And I think playing her next to Tarsiani has been very good. Tarsiani, obviously the giant defender, which Christian, whenever you were watching the game, you were like, man, she's out there like killing. Tarsiani is like raw, man. Like she, in the sense of like some of her tackles could be red cards, like straight up. I
She
mean,
plays on the edge.
yeah, definitely. I think there's a play. I don't know. I think it happened this game because they showed the replays a couple times. And the thing is, like, she comes from behind and, like, kind of like when she slide tackles, she kind of does like the scissor. You know what I mean? Like, whenever they come and
Yeah.
kind of like close their leg, bro, that is dangerous. Like, you clip someone, you gotta break their legs. Like, and it's crazy because one of them that they did, and it got to the point that we've had this conversation with like Dustin, right? Dustin would say, I would tell him like, "Hey, man, they got the ball, no foul." And he's like, "Dude, it doesn't matter. Like, you get the ball, but you still tuck at the player." And I'm like, "Dude, she does that all the time, and they never call a foul." So I'm like, "What the hell's happening here?"
Ball first is not a foul. That's what they say.
Clearly is not. So I mean, I will say, man, women's soccer, they 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 are tough, man. Like they'll in the sense, man, I see them like pull, push, punch, like nothing gets called, man. It's crazy. Except for that video I showed you from Liga Mickey. That to me was funny, but a girl acted like she was getting beat. So if you guys haven't watched it, I think her name was like Luciana Garcia. I don't even know what team it was. It was probably Chivas or something like that.
It was. I think it was Chivas. Or
It looked
yeah.
like Chivas.
Yeah.
But anyways, but yeah. So yeah, to an extent, I guess it's more of a play on league for sure. And I find it kind of crazy. But Tarsiani, when they signed her and we saw some highlights, we're like, man, how many red cards is she gonna get?
For
She
real.
hasn't yet, but I'm telling you, dude, it's coming, dude. It's coming.
Yeah, she plays away on the edge. She
She
reminds me of like a Guti Romero, like this is almost illegal. Like, what are you doing? Like
I
you
was gonna
shouldn't be
say
going
him
in as
or
hard.
even Licho. I mean, Licho is
Yeah.
like the butcher for a reason, man.
Yeah, literally, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
The Butchie Tarsiani, bro.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. But
But
again, there'll be yeah,
let me
yeah,
add something for the
sure.
NWSL because they did pass that
Oh yes,
CV or that player thing agreement that they had, which one of the things that I think caught my attention and I think has other than the financial or like the trade stuff that will probably help or not help depending on what side of your the fence you're in. Obviously, the players thought it would help them, but one of the things that will be interesting to see is the whole draft thing,
yes,
right?
yes,
Because the draft was basically, if you're bad, then you get to pick first. So you obviously get the best players. But now the draft players are the ones kind of like they get a say, right? They can say, oh no, we don't want to sign with. They're basically free agents,
right,
which could change the whole game because if you have a good team and you're looking for a good piece, you know what's more enticing than being a good player and wanting to play with a good team, you
right.
know?
Yeah,
So that's gonna change the game completely because if you're a bad team or if you're in a rebuild mode, you're gonna have to be like, hey, like, we're rebuilding. You're gonna be the face of the franchise type thing. We're gonna, rebuild everything around you. Like that's kind of the way that you kind of almost have to approach it in a way. If you're a terrible team like the Dash in a way, right? I'm not saying terrible
no,
because I
yeah. I
think they're
mean, they're
terrible,
terrible.
but I mean
We just talked
it's just
about
the
it. They had
numbers, right?
they have
Yeah, like
14 points, bro. Like it's pretty
yeah,
bad.
I'm not saying it. The numbers are saying it, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things like, okay, so what do they need? Let's just say they need a forward, right? Because they don't score a lot of goals. Well, then for you to bring the best college forward, you're gonna have to like move, everything, the skies, the mountains, and
Yeah, nah,
to bring her in.
Thank you for bringing that topic because I completely forgot. That's massive news, obviously for the league, and be would have been great to have Joey or Money or someone that is more involved in that aspect with the NWSL. But I think we can definitely hit on that specific topic, because I agree with you. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, what? I mean, college soccer and women's sport has been the biggest thing, right? It has been
Yeah.
um how basically all those players will come through, play with the national team at one point. Obviously, now that the leagues are created, that NWSL's created, and even the league before that, you started to see some of those players, get the opportunity as well. It, if you look, and I don't know if you've ever looked, Christian, to like women soccer, like just take the U.S. for example, because you can see even like Canadians and this and that. I mean, they used to only play for the national teams. That to me, that's really crazy. I mean, I think there's players like Alex Morgan that probably has like 300 caps or something stupid like that, with the US. I mean, that's crazy because that was the way it went. And again, that was, but the pipeline for all this leagues that obviously the NWSL and the ones leagues before that, the pipeline has always been the college game. And now that you're taking it away, the draft itself, I saw it as like, man, yeah, that's very crucial. Obviously, like you mentioned, the worst teams get to pick first. So, you're going to have the say on taking like the best players and you can pick whatever position you want. And that's not going to be the case anymore. But at the same time, you also have to put it on the players themselves that are going to be quote unquote free agents now, because even though they would want to play for the best team, that best team is probably already like has every position filled with a couple, two or three pieces in those roles already. So your playing time is not necessarily going to be a for sure in comparison to going to a weaker team or a team that really needs that help. um so in a way, it's kind of like wishy-washy because we joked around in our group chat saying like, well, now the Houston screwed. Now all the players like want to go to California and New York,
Yeah.
and this is the weather. Who wants to play here? I mean, we've seen a lot of players like Press. She was supposed to come play here. She leaves. Well, she leave. She just didn't want to get traded over here, whatever. Like, it's happened that players come, they hate it here, they leave, they want to leave as soon as they got here, because they didn't have the consent that now they're gonna have when trades are happening. So it's another
Mhm.
thing that I get it. They say like, oh, other leagues around the world are this way, but it's different because all those other leagues that you're referring to, whether it be England, Spain, Liga MX, the weather is not necessarily a factor and it's here. The organizations is not really a factor, but it's here. So, it's not necessarily a playing field, like a, equal playing field. Even though the dash obviously has been um alive, I guess, for like 10 years now. Some of the newer organizations that come in and they've made a big, advancement. They have their own stadiums or they newer stadiums. They have a way better support system. They're able to spend money. It's different. So
It's different. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
it's gonna be interesting to see how that develops. You hope it's for the better, but you're looking at the dash and you're like, man, you're like all the way down there in the table. Would have been great to get like a good pick, and help you out and whatever. And that's not gonna be the case. So developing the team, it's something that's gonna be interesting for sure. But I guess I'll finish this because we're already 45 minutes in. I don't want to make this too long of an episode. But they talk about possibly getting rid of the draft for the MLS. And I could definitely see it more possible there because by now a lot of the teams already have an academy, system. They
Yeah.
have some kind of pipeline. Of course, there's some newer teams that are still not there yet. Um, but I think it would make way more sense to get rid of it in the MLS than NWSL. And time will tell. Maybe, they'll see the NWSL do it and see how it works out, and maybe the MLS would be next to get rid of it, Christian. Um,
Yeah.
what's it called? Yeah. So again, let's go into the MLS. Houston Dynamo did not have the best outcome. I was so positive. I knew that they were gonna win. I wanted them to win 3-1. I just thought that there's no way. A team from Toronto, from 60-degree weather, comes to your house and beats you. There's
Yeah.
no way. And you know what? It's crazy because it happens so often for the Dynamo in August. I don't understand. I don't get it, and that's really what it was. I mean, or Toronto just looked like they played in this damn weather the whole time. They were just used to it. As soon as that first goal from Toronto, or the what ended up being the winning goal, came in, there's not a lot that the Dynamo could do, man. There's no shifting. There's not a lot. I mean, yes, the only thing is that we did see two strikers. So he played, Ponce and Ferreira, something that he said that Van Olsen mentioned. I think I was the first one to ask him about possibility of playing them together. And he said, well, never say never. And that's exactly what we got. Never say never. He plays the two strikers at towards the end. But there's no creativity, man. There's no one out there that can break the team apart. There's nobody that can do that. And that is what you need. You really need something. And they took out Basi. They put in Kovalchik. Kovalchik gets
What?
a couple nice shots from outside.
His progressive passes didn't do anything.
His progressive passes didn't do much, man. And Kovalchik did take a shot from long distance that was nicely saved by the goalkeeper. Pushed out for a corner, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. And then he also had it towards the end of the game. He had an opportunity that if Sebas was just like, well, Seba, because both of them were down there. If Kovalchik was just 3 inches taller, man, he would have reached it and it would have been a goal. But
If he
I
would have been
mean,
a regular sized human being.
if he was a regular, yeah, right. If he was full size Sebas, he would have gotten that. But it's disappointing. It's frustrating. Um, I know you put the pressers on YouTube, so for if you people haven't listened to them, listen to them. Um, I mean, Ben wasn't gonna say much after the game. I know he was pissed. I would have been too if I was the coach. They played well. They keep obviously possession and all this stuff, but whenever they fell behind, where they did, Toronto was just gonna go ahead and not necessarily park the bus, but they know that the Dynamo have nobody they can. In Spanish, is de se librar. It's like I can't think of what the hell that word is in English, but they don't have anybody that it's able to. Um, I don't know.
Yeah,
Take
like
the. Huh?
tear open. I don't know if tear open, but like tear apart their defense in a way. Like
Yeah, exactly.
break
That
down.
yep. That's the expression. There's nobody to break them down. There's nobody that can, uh, you know, take the ball, dribble the ball, make a little bit of moves.
A
Because if
disruptor.
disrupted, is that
Victor.
what he said? Good job. Thanks,
Yeah.
Victor. Yeah,
That's it.
there's definitely nobody that is able to do that, and it's frustrating. I mean, we know Abazi's great. His passing is fantastic. I think we've already talked enough about him. I'm still not convinced. To me, I'm still gonna, and I put
Yeah,
it
I
in
mean,
quotations this time. I'm gonna keep
look,
saying Basi sucks, in quotations, right? Because
but
that's
yeah, I mean, kind of going back, like the Dynamo had 609 passes, and Toronto 241, but they still won. So it's like, okay, you can have 73% of the possession against 20 or 72 against 28, but you still lose. What does that give you at all? You know what I
right.
mean? I mean, it's I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and I mean their players. Obviously, the Italians, they weren't together. You only got Bernadeschi, and Bernadeschi was playing. Like that's the type of player the Dynamo need, man. Somebody that is not afraid to dribble. There was one play, I believe it was in the second half, and he was all by himself. He had two players on him. I believe it was Escobar and Arthur. Just went through him. you know, like a hot knife through butter, man. I mean, it takes the shot, and I think he was asking for the ball again, and he didn't get it. It's like you need somebody like that. I think we've talked about this. The way that tactically the team plays is great. You keep possession, but you have a really slow buildup. Then you're
Yeah.
using um, Griffin Dorsey to go up the field. By the time that he goes up the field, everybody on the opposition is back. There's really no space. He crosses it, is gonna get parried away by one of the defenders or the goalkeeper. It's just such a slow buildup. It's frustrating, and you see it as like they're playing really good, right? You see the team,
Yeah.
and they are very playing good. I mean, you take especially from what we've seen in the past. And, yeah, yeah,
Let me
yeah,
ask you. Let
yeah.
me ask you this: are they playing really good, or are they possessing the ball really good? Because that I don't. Well, I guess I didn't watch the game. I should have watched the game.
No, no, no,
But
no. Well, that's a good point because I
you
will
know,
say, like, if you didn't have to watch this game, bro. Like, I know you're busy and stuff, but even if you watch every other game, it's the same exact game all the
exactly.
time. That so
Yeah.
no, your question is valid. Yeah, possibly it could be that, right? Their possession is better. If you're taking into context, like for instance, everybody's watches the Dynamo in the last shit. Let's say the last 7 years, because we'll take into account. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cause no, because even their XG wasn't high. It was 1.1. You know
No,
what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's not like you were like all killing them. You had a bunch of shots, but out of 18 shots, 4 on target. Like you can't even shoot straight. So
yeah.
it's one of those things. Like we know that Dynamo can possess. We know that Dynamo can control. We know that Dynamo can control the tempo of the game, especially at home. But it's like what, like you were saying, where's the difference maker? Where's the guy that is going to give you a little extra umph? And I think that was the whole, not to bring up the whole, quote unquote, a fight or argument that we or you mostly had with Dustin, which was with Bossy. But Bossy, yes, he can give you possession, he can give you passes, he can give you I don't know, progressive passes, but can he give you that extra, creativity? I'm not asking for him to be Carlos Vela, but can he
Right.
be, the Dynamo need a Carlos Vela. They need somebody that can dribble. They need somebody that can kind of go past a guy, beat two guys, and Kowalczyk is kind of that guy, but he's not there yet, right?
Mhm.
So it's one of those things that we need a better Kowalczyk in a way, right? Because Kowalczyk could give you that potentially, but it's like, is he that good to be kind of elite level of a player that you need in there? That's why whenever we brought up Carlos Gil, in that whole conversation, we were like,
He's still better.
and
You'll take him over
yeah,
Bussy for sure.
100%.
Right.
I'll take Carlos Gil with a bad season than Basi with an extreme good
Yeah,
season,
I
because
agree.
I feel like Carlos Gil will still give you more
It
chances to add
it's just
goals than
that it factor, like, it's one of you see it when you
Dustin
see
is
it.
like
Yeah, yeah.
bleeding from his ears right now.
Right. No, I agree. It's just there's something missing with Bossy. Like it's
Yeah,
just that man, it's not about being flashy. It's just
but it is.
no, but it's not
Not
about being
flashy.
flashy because I was gonna say even in this game, and I know you didn't see it, but before the Dynamo got scored on, I believe I can't remember if it was before or after because it was in the second half. There's a ball that lands towards Bossy, and Bossy decides to like heel flick it towards the goal, get saved or whatever, and then they try to take another shot and they miss. Why do you have to be fancy there? That's when you hit the shit out of the ball with your right foot. It's on your right foot.
Hit
Yeah,
it.
you just hit it. If it doesn't go in, it doesn't go in. But it's better than like a fancy heel flick. Like there's just no point. Like I think that sometimes you see it frustrates you with Vasi because sometimes like the fanciness, he when he needs it, he doesn't uses it, and when he doesn't need it, he uses it. So and that frustrates you too as well. And um what the big deal too, if you have the stats open, Chris, I mean, you see how they scored in the 54th minute, and then in the 60, obviously once they score, that's when they make the sub that they tend to make,
Yeah.
being Anali, and I guess Kovalchik came in at the same time, I believe, on the 60th. So
Yeah.
by then, you're trying to change the game, but it's difficult in the way that you play, right? Obviously, if this would have played out, right? I mean, the goal that they scored, I will say it was also like it took a lot of luck because they shot it. I think it did take some kind of deflection as well. Um, and it went in. And I mean, there's nothing that Clark could do. I mean, that ball literally sneaked in, and there was nobody anybody could do. But if that goal hadn't happened, then you could just, it's written in stone. Van Olsen was gonna make a sub like in the 65th minute, take out Ali, put in Ali, and just try to beat them with that. They're tired. It's still
Yeah.
0-0. We can get a goal. And now he's forced to do that because they're already down 1-0, and it wasn't
Yeah.
working because the team Toronto already knew. Was like, you can have the ball, man. I know you can't break us down in transition game,
Yeah.
because if we're gonna start backing up, not necessary, I don't want to say park the bus, because they definitely didn't park the bus. They were still very playing, maybe like a low block, or but not fully, completely a Mourinho, type of
They're letting guys
Inter
in the
Milan.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, you had Eto playing center back. There's some problems there. Um, but but it was like, you're not gonna beat us anymore. Like, you can have the ball,
Yeah.
but we know what you can do when you get to the, up the field. And as long as we are blocking those spaces, those white areas, or as we know that you can't get there. And that's exactly what happened. And that was the frustrating part, because you never saw Nolly going a 1v1 outside anymore, because he couldn't. You had the winger, which I think it was Bernadeschi on the side, and then the defender just playing double teaming him and stuff like that. So it's like, the game that you were, came in prepared to use against Toronto, it was annihilated just because of that. You went down, you know, um, and it doesn't happen often, right? The Dynamo never usually go down first. Like, they usually the opposite. They're winning 2-1, and they come back on them, or 2-0, and they come back on them. So it was frustrating. I think, I know that Glenn asked Ben that recently in the interview he had, I think last week with him, and you can tell Ben doesn't like that question. Now I wanted to ask it myself, but especially because of the way that Toronto went down. Um, but it's like, we get it. I understand it in the sense of, like, as a coach, you want to play the way you want to play, but you also have to be able to be flexible. Try something different. Like, now you have two wingers, play one on each side. Let Dorsey do a little bit defending, because it should help you, because that way, if you use it doesn't work out, you have 45 minutes, it's not doing all that great. You're playing at home, you have that in your favor as well. Then you can tweak it. You can go back to whatever, the same old that you've been doing. But
Yeah.
if you don't try it, then whenever you go to the playoffs, or whenever you go into short tournaments that are knockout, like, you need to find out what other things that you can do instead of sticking to the same thing. And I mean, that's kind of what you got out of it. That's what you ended up seeing from this game and the games before that. I mean, it's just the same thing. I mean, even if you take like the Toluca game, that same thing. It's a lot of like, and you're right. That's why I was like, man, I mean, the question is valid. Are you better in possession, or are you better in general? And that's what I meant. Like, if you're a fan, if you're following the team for 7 years, you take of like, this team here, it's obviously like night and day in comparison to like Cabrera team, right?
Oh
When it was, y'all have the ball, we know how we're, but see, but Cabrera, that's the smart thing with Cabrera, because he knew what he had, right? He
yeah.
knew that his team wasn't a possession team. He knew that he had the explosiveness to beat you on the counter, like on the transition game. So he used it to his advantage. And I think that right now, having an Ali and Ali, you still can use that some way, give one of those guys the freedom to be able to, be that open guy, be that valve in disruption.
And that's why, because like a couple weeks ago, I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, we had a whole discussion of, who would you like, Anali, Ali, you, or Quinones. And my first instinct was Anali, because Anali, like Victor kind of said it as a word, he could be a disruptor. We know what Aliyu offers, and we know that he is going to offer you basically what Bossy is going to offer you in his position: progressive passes. Aliyu is going to offer you maybe a cross or two in a game, but other than that, you're not going to see much from him. You're not going to see any one-on-ones. You're not going to see him trying to kind of, I feels like he tries to go into the box, but he doesn't really reach that, and then he like just frustrates himself and turns back and passes the ball back.
I just think he'd be perfect as a right
But
winger. I think he'd be perfect as a right winger
try it out. Yeah,
because you're right. I mean, you if he's not the most the guy that's gonna come out and look for that run, and he does them. I don't let's not say that he doesn't.
no, no,
He
yeah,
does
yeah,
take
but
people one on
it's not as
one.
much.
Yeah, exactly. So he has more of a defensive capabilities as well, right?
Yeah,
He's able to track back and win those balls. So play him in front of Dorsey. Let Dorsey, pass him throughout the game. Let him do runs around him, try to get crosses, and let like the defenders worry about alley. You worry about a guy that can, push
yeah,
that line, can um has the speed to break through. And then on the other side in the left wing, let Enali take over. Let him be the guy that okay, now you're really worrying about three full, striker or forwards because you have Ponce, you have Ali on the right, and you have Anali on the left, and you know
yeah,
that you, as a defender, as a defending group, the opposition wise, you have to worry about all of them. You have to account for all of them, and of course,
yeah,
you have to account for Dorsey because you know they're gonna use him. And
yeah,
and I just don't get it. I don't understand what they have used it. It obviously could be like I mean, Anali's barely debuted. This was his first MLS game. I get it. But I think it's time to give that opportunity. Just try it out, man.
yeah,
Yes, and we've talked last week about how many games there are. There's a bunch of games against very tough teams, right? They're playing against LAFC this
back to back.
Saturday,
Yeah,
and then they play them again at home because they didn't play them earlier in the season. So it's gonna be tough, man. I mean, eh, I will say though, Dynamo did beat them twice, basically in the same scenario, home and
yeah,
away,
last year.
last year. But and
But
I think they can still beat them. I mean, LAFC just came from losing a final against Columbus Crew. They're gonna be hungry to get a win at home, especially. But all the games are not going to be they're all going to be difficult, right? There's not an easy game in the rest of the season for the Dynamo, but you still need to try those new things because if and when you make the playoffs, you're going to really, dig deep into your toolbox and find something that can help you break the opponent, whoever you're facing, and be able to, get those chances at goal. Yes, I think the biggest thing with Ben is he tells you like we're not going to change our thing because we're getting the chances we want, but they're not scoring. No, they're getting the chances. They are getting the chances, but they're not scoring. That's the big
yeah,
issue. But now you have Ponce. Like there's different ways. If you can get a breakaway, and we've talked about this, you can get a nollie, go all the way to the paint, and give that pass towards the six, and you have Ponce there to finish it. That's what you need to do. That's Ponce is fast enough. I mean, you see how quick this guy is. He's not going to be for a while. Remember how we would see, I think it was, well, I guess in this case it was Dorsey. Dorsey would go all the way and Ferreira was still like 30 yards back. That's
chasing
not
back.
the
Yeah,
case.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
not the case with Ponce. So if you're able to have some of what you saw when you had Ferreira, last year or the year before that, um, with Ponce now and Aliu and Anali, I could see them banging quite a few goals.
bro. In this game, Toronto had more crosses than the Dynamo.
Yeah.
And that tells you everything you have to know right there. More accurate crosses. They had 5. The Dynamo had 3.
Yeah.
That's and 3, and that's 14%. So that means they attempted a bunch.
Right.
And out of all the attempts, you don't have a proper winger that can get you more than 3 crosses in a game where, we knew the problem was a 9 getting into the box. Now you fix that problem, the 9 getting into the box, and now you can't put the ball into the box. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they had a bunch of they have 42 touches inside of the box, and you telling me you couldn't score?
Yeah, that's my point, man. I'm telling you. And
Madre.
the thing here is too, like when you have Coco's been out, right? And he's going to be out for no, we don't know how long, but he's probably going to miss this game, the next game. But whether it be Coco or whether it be Blessing, they're the same player as Bossy. They're the same. They're not going to be a disruptor. Thank you, Victor. We're going to keep giving a shout outs every time I use that. Yeah, there's nobody that can help break that, that gap going forward. So that's why you need another winger. Play Aliu there. I know this is gonna fall in deaf ears, and this is you and me just venting
Ben
about it.
Olsen, listen.
But it just to me, we're not coaches, right? I mean, we play the game at a different level. It's we're probably no. The reason I say this because at the end of the day, like media and a team, they're always gonna shit on us because we don't know the game, and then we get vice versa. So it's fine, but it's not what's it called? It, it's doable. I think that's the way to approach it with the players you have. And I know you and me probably see it the same way, right? I've talked to Joey about kind of the similar before even Anali got here. And it was like, but why you want two wingers? Because you already have a winger. You have Dorsey. Dorsey's this and Dorsey's that. And I'm like, but I mean, look at Dorsey's stats. He hasn't produced like he did last year.
He's not the same Dorsey of what's it called? Open Cup Dorsey.
Right. He has 2 goals, 2 assists. Like he hasn't been as great as he was again last year, and even the years before that. I mean, he had some good flashes for sure.
Yeah, and then also like he can't just go up to go up. He has to defend as well. Like he doesn't have a backup like Escobar. Like he does go up sometimes, right? Like he gets into the box a lot. If you ask me, for a left back that doesn't get into the box a lot. But because he knows he has coverage with Aliu, maybe tracking back. But when you ask, Dorsey, as soon as he gets into the box of the opposite team, he has to run back and kind of protect his back because
for sure,
he does has a couple of center backs that can cover his ass, but if something happens on his side of the field, who's gonna cover him? You know what I mean? He's the only people he can count on is hopefully Arthur making the the run across, or maybe the center back coming across. But he's all alone on that side because usually whoever's playing, quote unquote, right mid, there's really not a right mid.
No, because they're
playing with two wingers. It would be great.
They play right next to Bassi, and Victor says Olsen won't play that way because he will be ultra doesn't want to compromise his ultra defensive system. Again, I agree. He, we would never see him play like a Kyoto Elise, like Cabrera did. Even if he had him in the team, he wouldn't play them. But if you put Aliu, it's a different game because Aliu does a lot of the defensive work already. But if you're in the attack and you're able to do that quick transition, then you can use the tools that Anali and Aliu have going forward. And again, yeah.
No, and to the point that Victor's talking about, Escobar playing out of position. I don't know if you remember, but in the beginning of the season, we talked about, the possibility of having Escobar as a right back and Dorsey playing in front of him as a right wing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We talked about
that was the idea, right? Dorsey as a right winger, Aliu as the left winger. You have literally two guys that can go up and down that field.
Right.
They can both be dangerous. Dorsey doesn't have to worry about defensive.
And then it would be more of a 5, playing with 5 in the back.
Yeah,
if you want,
you could do that.
If that makes Ben Olsen feel good, that he's like, I'm playing with 5 defenders. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that defensive being Dorsey is like way up the field, and it is what it is. But yeah, you're right. We talked about the same thing, way back when. Just seeing the way that Ben Olsen, his tactics, and I'm not bashing his tactics whatsoever. I think I like what it does. I just feel like that there's a player missing, which currently they keep giving that role to Coco. They keep giving it to Blessing. When you could give it to Aliu, I think Aliu is capable of doing that same role. Again, the defensive scheme, he would be the guy, sacrificing, coming back, playing tight alongside Dorsey. But whenever you get that shift in transition, you're able to, just think about it this way. Bassi gets it in front, right? There's a couple mismatches. Arthur wins the ball. You have the opposition out of position, out the
Opposite.
opposition out of position. Wow, that was crazy. Um, but then he gets able to quickly link up to either of the wings, right? Because you can quickly see Aliu and Ali turn the rockets on and look for those open spaces. And I think that's what we're missing, because it's so easy to be like, well, their only escape out of this here is Aliu. And it's so quick to double team Aliu or just let him be out wide. They know he's not going to be the one that comes in and, dribbles in and just, looks for those gaps. And that's the issue that the team keeps falling into, man. But let's go ahead, Chris, finish out your thoughts, and we'll call it a night, man.
No, I mean that's honestly, I have no more thoughts. It's just good. I mean, it's interesting to see what could be done, right? If Ben Olsen played differently, maybe,
Yeah.
or not even play differently, but had a right winger, quote unquote, play with two wingers instead of one. Um, I don't. Maybe it could change the game. Maybe it wouldn't. But it would be nice to see and try. You know, getting somebody out of that midfield. I mean, you already have three guys that could do that, or two guys that could do that. Three guys, right? Because
Mhm.
it would be like a 4-3-3. Uh, you can have three guys central, three guys up top, two wingers. Why not give it a go, man? What do you lose? Like you said, maybe play 45 minutes. If you don't like it, then go back to your regular, scheduled programming where you keep the ball, you run it all around the box and try to look for a hole. You don't take shots, obviously, so you're
Right.
obviously looking for a hole.
Yeah, you
So
just need a little bit of explosion. I mean,
yeah,
as a Barcelona fan, I saw it all the time, right? Messi for a while always played on the wing. Eventually,
yeah,
he went towards the center, but it was always him given the opportunity to have the freedom. Which in this case, we keep saying it would
nobody
be
does
a
that.
player like Anali to have that freedom. And then but they played 4-3-3 back then,
Yeah,
and the other winger, he was always asked to be the one to sacrifice himself and help out in
yeah,
defense. And that's what I think that Ali, you could fit that perfectly, being because we know what he offers on top. He's speed, right? Is breakaway. And when you're limiting to, hey, here's use your speed, but you have three people in front of you, he's gonna go nowhere, man.
yeah.
He's absolutely gonna go nowhere. But we'll finish it here, Chris. I think it's been a great episode, man. Um, hopefully we will catch up on what is to come. I'm not even gonna ask you for predictions against LAFC. I think it's gonna be a tough match. But who knows? It could work out. What if Saturday we look at the lineup and look, look at those guys. They're playing for once. Maybe
Somebody's listening.
we'll surprise ourselves, but we'll finish it with obviously um kids childhood cancer thing is coming up. What's up?
And then, well, I don't know if you want to do it before or after, but just to touch 30 seconds on teenage coming back to the league.
Yes, thank you for that note, man. But yeah, so yeah, obviously they celebrate all the time, all the different events. This one is for September and kick cancer. So if that's a shirt that you like, I'm hopefully gonna buy it. I'm gonna see. It's kind
I
of out
like
of
it.
my budget, the where my bank account works, but we'll see. I like it. I'll probably add it. I don't have any of those, and I had been telling myself that I would buy one. No matter what it looked like, it's not the best one, but the
It's
best
not bad
design
either.
for that one. I would wear it. I would wear it.
It's
But
kids.
yeah, teenage is back in the league. It's crazy that he left. I mean, Mikel came in like a wrecking ball, man, and
Miley
took
Cyrus over
over.
here.
But crazy that he's coming back. Cincinnati is getting all the Houston Dynamo players, huh? Corey Baird, Teenage Davy. Who's
Houston
next, man?
2.0. Yeah. Whoever we drop next, they'll probably get a 9. Don't they need a 9?
Herrera,
Herrera, right?
yeah, they lost their 9. You're right.
Might as well.
So yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. Great for him. As a fan, I'm gonna like take my media hat off, I suppose. Man,
Teenage revenge.
I, I love teenage. Teenage. First of all, he's a great player. He was fantastic. He he would give me scared at times whenever he would get the ball. Yeah, you remember those? Like you're not now you're like that back.
Yeah.
Um, but overall, I mean, he is very
PTSD.
comfortable, very confident with the ball at his feet, super fast. I mean, nobody really could beat him on the air. Uh, speed on one on ones. I mean, the dude's a rock. Unfortunately for him, he got the bad injury, breaking his leg, losing his position. I mean, that just how soccer works. And being at the end of his contract, it was easier to keep Mikael making less money. Um, and I mean, Mikael has been good, so it was a great decision for the team.
Yeah.
Obviously, uh, he goes to back to Turkey. It doesn't work out, and now he looks like he's back in the MLS. Unfortunately, I don't think the Dynamo. I think they already played Cincinnati this
Yeah.
year, or was it last year? I don't even remember now. But so there won't be a rematch. But between the two teams, unless they make it to the final. Who knows? I mean, you
Who
never know,
knows?
right? Never say never.
Who knows?
Uh, but it's great. It's great to see him back, man. I think he's a great human. I think that all those fun little gestures and dances that they did. I mean, they still Basi has kept them going, but it had already started with teenage, and he was a fan favorite for a reason. He was just very charismatic. I couldn't understand half of the things he said. He has such a deep voice.
uh,
But I talk to him all the time. Like I've run into him in a few events, and he was great, man. He was great. But what are you expecting, man? Where you like? Would you like this move for teenage?
yeah, I mean, for him, I think is the best move possible. You can't compare, living in the United States, a chill city like Cincinnati probably is, great soccer town. He's a fan favorite wherever he goes. So he's just gonna get acclimated, and they have a great support system over there, like supporter section, supporter team, whatever you want to call it. But a player like him is always needed, to bring the spirits up basically in the locker room. So good for him, honestly, in a personal level. Good for him. We'll see how he fits.
Yeah, I wonder exactly if he's going to be like. Obviously, he's not going to be thrown right into the starting lineup, but I mean, he has Mal Robinson and Matt Miazga, who are both very talented, U.S. national team players. So,
He's a
it's
good option at the bench.
obviously he's a depth player, and if somebody does get hurt and if somebody gets a knock, he'll be a reliable player if he still has what we saw before he got injured. Actually, even after when he came back, he was still pretty good.
They're
So,
still good.
obviously he's had about 8 months with the whole Turk since he left to Turkey and all that stuff. So
Turkeys.
we'll see exactly how that translates. But Christian, it has been a pleasure, man. We went
Sir.
a definitely a little longer, but you know what? It's been a great episode. Great chatting with you once a week, like we tend to do. And tell the people, man, one last time how they can connect with us.
Yes, sir. You can always go to BayouCitySoccer.net. That is the website where you can find anything and everything that we do here, guys. Don't forget, we have added a couple people to the squad, to the team, so they're gonna be pumping out content hopefully here soon. And we are also working on some few things behind the scenes. So hopefully you guys stay tuned, stay locked in there. Don't forget to check out the social media channels. Go to the YouTube channel, or don't forget to hit the bell, hit the like, subscribe, and do all the fun stuff. The Instagram channel, we do the polls there and everything. And of course, Twitter, that's our kind of bread and butter, where all the information goes first. Everything kind of gets filtered through there. So go check out Bayou City Soccer on all the social media and BayouCitySoccer.net, the website. And if you're a sponsor or you're looking to sponsor anybody, hit us up. We need sponsors. We want to do a lot of cool things. Hopefully at the end of this year and starting next year, even a tournament. So that would be dope. If we can get people together and a good amount of sponsors to do cool things in the community as well. So trying to take Bayou City Soccer to the next level.
Yeah. And since you mentioned that, I give a shout out because I saw it whenever we recorded the last episode, but we hit over 10,000 listens to the podcast. That's purely via Spotify. No clue how much it is in total, because it's in Spotify how they work. They don't want to talk about their competitors, but
Yeah.
hey, 10,000, that's a lot to me. It's probably not a
Yes.
lot to the rest of the world. But it's great. So obviously, we do our best to try to give you guys the best content that we can, to keep you guys up to date with all the news as well. So yeah, like Christian said, man, follow us on all our social media platforms. We really appreciate it. And don't forget to hold it down and keep it forever orange, guys. Peace.